agenda items will be acted upon on one motion unless a council member requests an item be removed for discussion and separate action.
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Shasteen, a second by Councilman Masick to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Shasteen?
Aye.
Councilman Masick?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Councilman Hennis?
Aye.
Councilman Bratton?
Aye.
Councilman Philippin? Aye. Councilman Caldwell? Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. It is Constitution Week proclamation. Councilman Philippin.
The proclamation issued by the Mayor and City Council, whereas September 17, 2025 marks the 238th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and this memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, he, Nick Hampson, Mayor of the City of Osawatomie, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through September 23rd, 2025 as Constitution Week. And he urges all citizens to reaffirm the ideas that the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through his guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. Proclaimed this 28th day of August, 2025, Nick Hampson, Mayor, City of Osawatomie.
We need a motion to sign that.
I'll make a motion to approve Constitution Week.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Hennis and a second by Council Lady Philippin to approve the proclamation of Constitution Week. Any questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Shasteen?
Aye.
Councilman Masick?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Hennis?
Aye.
Councilman Bratton?
Aye.
Councilman Philippin? Aye. Councilman Caldwell?
Motion carries. Would you guys like to take a picture? When we get the books?
I just have a short minute, constitutional minute. September 17th is the 238th birthday of our Constitution. And so how Constitution Week came about was the Daughters of American Revolution wanted to see more awareness and study of the Constitution. And so that whole week is dedicated to studying our Constitution, flying our flags, teaching our children about our Constitution and Bill of Rights. So I'm just asking you to fly your flags, and I want to introduce Peggy Patterson. She's going to be my assistant. I'm Renee Slinker with Daughters of American Revolution. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself. And we are with the Daughters of American Revolution Magazine chapter. So, and I did just recently get appointed Kansas State Constitution Week Chair. I'll be over 63 chapters in the state of Kansas for Constitution Week. So anyway, thank you. And Peggy's going to hand this out, and then we'll take a picture if that's okay. I'll try not to take up too much. And those that already have a pocket Constitution, please don't ask for another one because I hand those out to the students. But there is a bookmark, preamble, first paragraph of the Constitution, bookmark.
If anybody else can share with our documents.
we fly in the background?
I can just stand over here and just
Oh,
stand
we
over
want to
there. That's what I want you to do. How much you want to do?
It's up to you.
stand over in front.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Thank you, Brian. And you did get a call? Yes. Okay, and put it on your call. Thank you.
Looks like we have one more presentation, proclamation, and appointment for the LKM Annual Conference appointment of delegates. So, did we ever put up who we wanted to?
The League of Kansas Municipalities Conference is October 9th through the 11th this year. The governing body of each member city may elect city delegates from among the city's officers to represent the city in the conduct and management of the affairs of the League of Kansas Municipalities. Based on our population, we need to elect 2 voting delegates and 2 alternate voting delegates. In 2024, our voting delegates were Nick Hampson and Brett Glendinning. The alternate voting delegates were Kevin Chastain and Tammy Philippin. The conference will be held in Overland Park this year. And then if anybody's going to go, after we elect that, just let me know so we can get you signed up.
Did anybody figure out whether they were?
I let Tammy know that I couldn't.
You're not going? Okay.
I'll be there Friday, Thursday and Friday, so I can be on that, but I will not be there on Saturday.
Which is when the vote
Saturday,
happens.
and Saturday's when the
Yeah.
vote is.
Dan, you out?
Yeah.
No.
I'm out of town.
Dale? Dang it. Okay. I guess we need 2.
I'm going.
You're going?
Michelle's going to
Okay, not
Pena.
going.
We can go to Pena.
It's October 9th, 10th, 11th. I think.
Yeah.
The vote is the 11th. Okay, so we need to appoint Brett and
Nope,
Michelle's
not
not gonna
Michelle.
be there.
Be Brett, Tammy. Tammy.
Okay. And then I may be able to just be an alternate this year. Put Kale down in the alternate. So we need a motion for that.
Mayor, I move we approve Brett Glendinning and Tam Piemans as delegates with you and Dale as alternates.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Chastain, a second by Councilwoman Caldwell to have Brett Glendinning and Tammy Siemens as our voting members and myself and Dale Pratten as the alternate voters. Any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Chastain?
Aye.
Councilmember Masick?
Aye.
Councilmember Dean?
Aye.
Councilmember Hennis?
Aye.
Councilmember Bratton?
Aye.
Councilmember Philippin?
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell?
Aye.
Motion carries. We will move on to comments from the public. Barry, you ready? All right. You want to let Father go first?
Yes, thank you. The Osawatomie Ministerial Association received some donations recently from the Closed Closet or Baptist Church, and the funds that they've provided have been able to help us to continue to support people in the community who have some requests for needs with bills or other assistance. And so we're grateful to try to, as we can, to continue to help offer assistance. And so just wanted to offer a word of gratitude to the Closed Closet, the Baptist Church, for their support that they've offered. Also, there's a new group in the community called Osawatomie House Church, and they have contacted us and are wanting to meet with us in September to see how we can collaborate for some positive ways in the community. And so we'll be meeting with them in September to see how we might collaborate in some way for some positive help in the community, working together with them. So just wanted to share a few of those updates, and have a nice rest of your meeting. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. For the comments tonight, we do have the public hearing for revenue neutral rate and our budget. So at this point, we'll do the comments that aren't pertaining to budget and the revenue neutral rate. So if there are things outside of them, we'll get to them when we get to them. Yes?
Oh, I would say that, yes, I'm outside those.
He's outside of revenue neutral.
Yeah, that's fine. So that's what we're saying. This is
Okay, I'm just.
Nope, fine, you're good. Step forward, you got 5 minutes.
All right, let me know when to begin.
Go ahead, you're ready.
All right, hello, my name is Gary. I've come here today to talk about city code violations. My property isn't perfect, but I keep it more or less maintained. I've lived at my current residence for over 15 years without any issues. Now suddenly I received 2 violations in just as many weeks, and then a bill for a third that I wasn't notified of. I'm not saying they were invalid, but why am I suddenly a target for violations the very moment I run afoul, while there are far more egregious examples going on unchecked year after year? As for the third violation that again I wasn't notified of and then billed for, when I went in wanting to know why I got this bill and picture proof of what possibly could have been mowed, I discovered the city hadn't reviewed the contractor's work or even had the pictures. Then upon actual review of the contractor's pictures, the bill was forgiven because he didn't do enough. Didn't do enough? Lost place. The contractor never should have been there in the first place. Some tree branches were mowed. The city code specifically says grass and weeds will only get 1 notice per 12-month period. The trees are neither. I should have been notified and wasn't. That's a definite problem that you need to address. How many others have received similar erroneous treatment? And have any of you seen one of these code notices? They are heart garbage. You get front and back paper with tiny print that is a copy and paste of the city's code book. It tells you nothing about what is actually wrong, why you received the notice, or how you can fix it. Your only hope is whatever you can glean from the tiny picture printed on the back side of the notice. The code enforcer that looked at the property and determined there is a violation already knows everything about what, where, why, and how. So put that in the notices and not a copy of the city code that leaves everyone guessing as to what is actually found to be wrong. I even brought a terribly incomplete sample of what they could look like. It is still more informative than what is currently being sent out. It tells you everything about what is wrong and where, the specific code violation, and what needs to be done to fix it. This removes any confusion on what is wrong and what must be done to resolve the violation. Don't bother mailing them, initially anyways. Give the code enforcer a computer and cheap laser printer to keep in the vehicle. Print the notices immediately, tape them right to the front door. Do this each and every time, none of this one notice. We are reasonable adults, treat us as such. Sure, there are always those that will be difficult and test your patience. Treat them as exceptions they are, and not the standard that we are all measured by. Send those exceptions the expensive $6 notice when they fail to fix the issue in a timely manner. By putting notices on the front doors, we as a community can even come together to help that elderly neighbor, the family is out of town, or help someone that simply lacks the tools to fix the problem themselves. There is no need for the notices to be a source of shame, embarrassment, and frustration. Again, we are reasonable adults. Work with us. If the issue resolves to your satisfaction, inform us. The current system is just aggravating and pissing off everyone on both sides, turning reasonable people, understandably, into grumpy, unreasonable people. Let's work together to improve the system. Thank you for your time, and I wish everyone a good night.
Please state your name and address.
Brad Reichert, 14713 West 311th Street, Paola. I am here tonight to talk to the city to maybe think about reconsider building the water plant. I've asked several folks to kind of explain to me what the logic is for spending the amount of money they want to spend on this plant. So I couldn't get the numbers, so I put these numbers together. I kind of like to run through them real quick and for also everybody here to understand kind of where I'm coming from. Right now, the city of Osawatomie has 1,600 meters with an average use of 200 gallons per day. And I actually think that's probably high, but I'm going to use these numbers, which accounts for 320,000 gallons of water per day made out of the plant. Your minimum charge went up in January to $41.64 for the minimum charge, which is, I guess, your meter charge, which I think was a 64% increase. And then your rate increase went up 49%. But the city actually makes about $66,000 a month on meter charges or minimum use charges. That's 1,600 meters times $41.64. Your water rate charges are $9.90 per thousand. 1,600 meters times 200 gallons a day is 320,000 gallons, which I've already said. But because we deal in thousands of gallons, you take 320,000 times 30 days, you actually make about 9.6 million gallons of water a month, okay? You take that $9.6 million gallons divided by 1,000, because that's how we're billing water out. It's 9,600,000 gallons, okay? Does that make sense? 1,000 gallons. Times 990 is $95,040 per what you make on water, less your water cost of $2 a thousand, nets you down to $75,840 a month in water rates. Does that make sense? This is kind of confusing, and I was trying to make it as simple as possible, but it is a little confusing. But I think at the end of the day, my point is the city makes $66,624 a month in meter charges, and they make $75,000 a month in water rate charges, which is a grand total of $142,464 a month, okay? I think we're pretty clear on that, I hope. All right, so the option was to build a plant, and I'm arguing against the building of the plant for several reasons, and I'll go through those. To build a plant, we're told it's $30 million to build the plant. At 3.25 interest rate for 40 years, it's $111,000 a month interest payment, $111,000 a month payment. $62,000 of its principal, $48,000 of its interest. With your revenue of $142,464 minus your loan payment, the city makes $31,464 a month in water, okay, if you build the plant. You also pay $23 million in interest over the course of those 40 years on that loan. At your current water sales, over those 40 years, you're going to make about $15 million in profit on water sales, okay? I'm on the board of Rural Water 2. I'm not here to tell you to connect to Rural Water 2. You could also connect to PUA, but because I know kind of some of the things that have been spoken to the folks on the team, I sort of kind of know what was offered to the city, and I wish you would reconsider, okay? You can connect to Rural Water 2 for $7 million. Actually, it's probably less than that, but we're going to use that number, $7 million. If you borrowed money at 3.5% for 20 years, your monthly payment would be $46,000, okay? If the city charges $990 a thousand, and they buy water from Rural Water 2, you wind up making about $57,000 a month. Yep. Oh, 1 minute, Jesus. All right, my point is this.
Oh, no, I'll give you my 5 minutes, please.
Is that okay? No? All right, fine. Moral of the story is this. You're going to pay $37 million. You're going to make $37 million if you hook up to Rural Water 2. You'll have water in a year. You're going to make $15 million if you decide to build the plant. And this last page is kind of what I'm going through here. You know, if something were to happen to your plant tomorrow, you have no other source for water, correct?
Correct.
All right, so what would you do for water? You'd have to bring it in on a rail car or National Guard or whoever. My point is, if you build a plant, you're 3 years away from having that plant. You're also spending $30 to $43 million to get that plant. I say you can get water in a year for a whole lot less, for $23 million. That's my point. My point is, I'd like to know what your math is, or what the math was that was used to talk you guys into deciding to build a plant. That's my opinion. Good?
Thank you.
Wow, that was fast.
Brad, thank you for your time. One of the things I want to let the council know and the public know is that Brad's numbers don't include the cost of replacing Osawatomie's distribution system. Part of our $48 million water treatment and distribution project is a $30 million loan for the plant and $18 million in grant to replace the distribution system. Brad's numbers indicate what our cost would be to build a transmission line between us and 2 and to buy water. It does not add a cost for the distribution system that still needs to be replaced inside the city limits of Osawatomie. Furthermore, his numbers do not include storage or capacity in Hillsdale, which also needs to be purchased, or operation and maintenance of that Corps of Engineers project. We currently pay O&M in both Melbourne and Pomona. So what Brad's asking us to do is to give up our water production capacity and capabilities and buy water from number 2 so they can fill a hole that was left by Spring Hill when Spring Hill left Rural Water District 2 and started buying their water from Johnson County Water 1. That is the ask. It's not saving Osawatomie citizens money. This council's charge is to do what's in the best interest of this community, not the best interest of Rural Water District number 2.
Hey, Brad.
Your time is up.
It still saves us a lot of money, though.
No, it doesn't.
Isn't Lookout already hooked up to the water here? They were buying it until you got too high, and then they went somewhere else. People live out around Lookout.
Everybody gets their 5 minutes to come to the podium. We're not going to just yell back and forth at each other. So whoever's next, we have a comment outside of budget.
My name is Oliver Tanner, 1119 Brown Avenue. I moved here about 2.5 years ago after several years of living in abject poverty and climbing out of crippling debt from unavoidable catastrophes not of our making that my family suffered. We came here joyfully and filled with hope, having been fortunate enough to buy a piece of vacant land here. It's floodplain land and it's not worth much, but it's the first land that we've ever been able to own, and it encapsulates the hope of maybe one day building something we've never had, a permanent home. Now, to help us be able to build not only this home for our family, but hopefully a permanent home in this community, ever since moving here, we've been quietly living our lives, working on at least cleaning up our land and working on figuring out what kind of a business we can start in town to help our family move forward and build a real future. This is a difficult thing for my family because we face significant obstacles. I'm rated at 90% disabled by the VA, and my wife has a genetic mutation that is continually chipping away at her ability to function like a normal person, and which we fully expect to end her life in about 10 years, probably less. Now, I'm classically trained and highly skilled as a chef, but I had to sell my food truck due to my disabilities, and with my mix of personal obstacles, there really isn't a normal job out there for me to get. My only real hope is to be able to have something of my own. We came here knowing this and have been trying to find the right business for us to attempt the thing that the market here in Osawatomie really needs, because we have just one shot. With the money from selling our food truck, we have just enough for maybe a down payment on either a business loan or a construction loan to build a very simple house for ourselves on our land, but not both. Please understand, when I say that we have one shot, I mean, and the small amount of money that we have is all the money that we have. Not everything except for what we have set aside for retirement or tied up in investments. It's everything that we have. Over the past couple of months, I've been learning a lot of the things that have been going on behind the scenes here in Osawatomie. And, I've been so focused on trying to build something for my family, I hadn't really paid attention to the water plant and the costs associated with it, or what's been going on with developing a walking trail through town or with rising property taxes. Well, I'm paying attention now, and what I'm seeing is frankly disgusting. What I'm seeing is that the government of this city is not working for the citizens of this city. And the government here might think that they are, but this government doesn't exist to take care of, babysit, or provide for the citizens of Osawatomie. And all of this government solutions involve grabbing more land to incorporate into the city of Osawatomie and appealing to the interests of big businesses and big money players elsewhere to come in and take over our local economy, all with the benefit for them of skirting the very property taxes that are now going up again and are becoming overly burdensome to the people living here. When big businesses come into small towns, small businesses die because they can't compete. But even if I manage to start a small business that isn't directly competing with one of the big businesses that are being courted to come in here, I'll still be forced to face the property taxes and other expenses here in town that continue to rise and will only make it harder to keep any business that I may attempt open. Rising costs may be troublesome to large businesses and chains, but they are often fatal to small businesses, especially when they're still struggling just to establish a footing. In short, if I go ahead and open up a business here and the government of Osawatomie continues on in the direction that they are and have been up to this point, then I'm almost guaranteed to be squashed and put out of business, even if for no other reason than the rising costs of doing business here that are going to kill my business before I can really even start to make any money with it. And if I start a business and the city kills it, then not only will my hopes for both a business and a home be killed, but I won't have the resources to start over or try again. Thus, I find myself backed into a corner, and I find that the only path that I have, where I have a realistic hope of succeeding here, is the changing of who is running this government, and it is to that end that I am stepping forward to run a write-in campaign for the position of mayor. I have no personal beef with the current mayor or any of the city council members, but you are all part of a system that is taking this town further from liberty, further from individual rights, further from hope, and further from sanity, and whether through malicious complicity or through innocent naivety, this body has lost its way and needs to be replaced. I have no desire to work in government. I had more than my fill of being part of the government when I was in the military and the intelligence community, and I have more than enough impossible things of my own that I'm trying to accomplish right now. I do have my own vision for Osawatomie and seeing Osawatomie achieve a potential that few places ever do, but it has nothing to do with the government. It has everything to do with small businesses, families, helping others, and serving this community simply because it is right to do so. Now, I wish that we could move forward with you all sitting right where you are, but you've shown this city otherwise. Thank you.
Any other comments not pertaining to the budget? Okay. We'll move on to the public hearing. Hearing to exceed revenue neutral rate for the 2026 budget. We'll open the hearing at 6:30. If there are anybody who would like to talk about the revenue neutral rate hearing?
My name is Polly Inscore. I'm Dean Inscore's wife. You guys have all the money that you need. You do not need to raise taxes on these poor citizens of Osawatomie. Absolutely do not. You guys have every cent that you need to cover everything that you need. You are giving it away to Mike Scanlon. You are giving it away to places that frankly, I don't think the people agree with. And I think if we open up the books of Osawatomie and show where that money is going, I think people are going to be pretty horrified. So that's what we're going to do in Cora reports, and that's what we're going to do, get the transparency so that people can see what is happening. You guys are driving people out of their homes. You are making it where the middle income people are going to be the low income people. You are driving low income people out of here. Who's gonna run this town if you don't have people that are willing to work here? Because you don't make anything. They have to drive an hour to work at a job that pays the wages just to afford to live here. You're not bringing homes, people that want to live here. You're not bringing businesses that want to be here. You are crushing this town with the regulations and the wasteful spending that you guys have out there. It is shameful. It really is. And when we have an expert stand up and talk about why it is a good idea to go with rural water over you guys building your own plant, and you just squash that, and shut him down and do not even give him an extra 5 minutes that I gave out of my charity. I'll give him my 5 minutes. But you guys don't allow charity. You don't allow it with mowing the lawns. You don't allow it with anything. Charity is not a thing. It's all government. It's all bloat, okay? He is telling you guys already pay exorbitant prices for your water. Already do. Highest water anywhere. I live however many, Derek, did you clock it when you drove past my house videotaping? I live however many miles away, and I pay a fraction of what you guys pay for water because I'm on rural water too. You guys are gonna take this water plant and you're gonna do the same thing with it that you've done with every project. It's gonna go over price, it's gonna go over time, it's gonna go over everything. And your citizens are the ones that are gonna have to eat that. You guys are not suffering. None of you guys are suffering. You guys are meeting on the porch and meeting everywhere else and having your beers. You know, going to the liquor store today so that you guys can all get together. It's sickening. And you guys forget who you work for. You work for these people. And you guys are crushing them with your taxes and all of the other regulations and codes that you put on them. It is not right. You are the mayor of this town. This is the city council. He works for you guys. Why does he need a deputy city manager? Why does he need so many consultants? Why does he need all of this? If he cannot do the job of the city manager at the pay that he has, which is higher than any other city manager around, why do we even have him here?
Any other comment on revenue neutral rate?
Michael McCoy, 612 Leroy. I'm here about taxes too. I took ownership of my house in 2019. My appraisal of my house is tripled. My taxes is tripled, everything. I've been overtaxed, you know. I'm trying to raise 2 kids here and it's hard already. You guys been to the grocery store and then you guys want more money, more money. Not talking about everything else, the violations, and you guys send the forcers over. I had an officer tell me today that, not today, but the other day, I posted a video of it, where he said that the city wouldn't make contact with me, and the police will because they have guns and vests. That's what I was told. And I'd like to talk to you about that personally. And I can show you the video if you haven't seen it. Have you seen it? You think that's very inviting of it?
Michael, I didn't see it all. I seen it on Meanwhile Osawatomie.
Okay, well, I like to show you, and I recorded everything. But I'm just saying then, had a city officer, the nuisance officer, also put a Osawatomie police sticker on my truck. I wonder when the city runs registration and how they can use Osawatomie Police Department tow or remove stickers.
I mean, that's really concerning to me, because that's abuse of power, I think, without knocking on my door. Or then they came back and tell me some other violations that they didn't like. That was never an issue until they showed up to my house. So I like to talk to, just get some answers from you guys about that. And I'm asking you guys, we don't need to see no more taxes. We need, just like I have to, and just like anybody else here, we have to live with our means of living. You know what I mean? And you guys are affecting the way I live. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak about the revenue neutral rate?
I will just remark for the revenue neutral rate, same thing that I said at the meeting yesterday. So we bought our little parcel of land, it's about a half acre, bought it in 2021 at about $7,000. That was the value of the land. We bought it at cost. According to the appraisals that I'm being sent, it's now worth $17,000. So I don't know how in the world, over the course of 4 years, where I haven't made any permanent improvements, haven't made any permanent changes to the land, all I've done is try to keep it up and clean it up a little bit. The value more than doubles in 4 years. That doesn't seem right. Now, it hasn't put a penny in my pocket, hasn't done anything to benefit me. The only thing it's done is allow more taxes to be charged to me. And this is part of my trepidation. If I make any permanent improvements to it, what's going to happen now? Already, when I've done nothing, it's more than doubled in value. It's insanity. And there's no other word for it.
I live at 920 Brown Avenue. I've been there about a year and a half, and my taxes have been raised 2 times already. And I had to refinance the house to pay the taxes. Now, if you guys are going to raise the taxes again, we have roots in this town for 80 years, my family, my married family. And I like the town. We came here because it's quiet. But the taxes, I'm paying more here than I paid in Kansas City, and I had a big house in Kansas City. And I'm paying a lot more now than I paid in Kansas City. And they raised taxes at that time, and I'm still paying more here in a year and a half than I paid there. And what do I get for it? What do I get for those taxes? I mean, Kansas City has everything. I mean, you got stores, you got everything you need, and I'm paying for a big city. I'm here in a small town, and I'm paying biggest city prices. I don't think that's fair. And the water has gone up. It's insane. My electric, everything's gone up. I'm going to be priced out of my home.
I didn't get your name.
Ronald Crisalli, Crisalli. I'm Kevin's neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Blanton, 1012 South Street. I actually debated on whether or not to get up here or not, but listen to all these people. My parents moved into town about 4 years ago. They had like $1,100 a month payment on their house. Anybody want to guess what it is now? Bordering on $1,500 a month now. They're on fixed income. They're old. Okay. So talking to my parents, my dad didn't come tonight because he's sick. So he asked me to come down here and listen and come and talk to him about it. Like I said, I wasn't going to talk to you guys, but kind of feel like it's necessary. Give a perspective, okay? You're basically squeezing them out because more property taxes that they get a hike on insurance for their house because of wildfires in California is what their insurance told them. It was awesome. So then the town that we live in, that we chose to live in, by the way, because I've been here almost 30 years. My parents have been here 35, okay? I don't know how they're gonna continue to live here on this fixed income of Social Security and a small pension, okay? And they work their whole lives, and all they want is to sit at home, relax, and not have to worry about where they're gonna live tomorrow, okay? I don't know if that helps anybody understand, but I feel like I don't want to get to their age and have to worry about this either. Thank you.
I'll ask the second time if somebody wants to talk about revenue neutral rate.
Me again. Brad Reichert. I do own a couple homes in Osawatomie. The taxes are high. Matter of fact, the taxes are the highest. We've got the highest mill levy rate of any city in Miami County with the least amount of stuff. I don't know what the deal is with this city, but you seem to want to spend and indebt yourself to death. And the only way you're going to pay for it is by raising taxes. And my opinion is we're spending money over here on things, the Northland Sewer Interconnect to nowhere, or whatever. My point is, what is the purpose of borrowing all this money and then piling it on the people that live here's property taxes? I'm just telling you, we really need to rethink about how we spend the money over here. And do we really need to take all the debt just because we get some grant money? I mean, somebody's going to throw a $12 million carrot at you, and then, oh, now we're going to spend $50 million on a whatever. My point is, I just don't think the math adds up, and I just feel like you guys are doing the city a disservice because you're spending money that you can't pay. And this city will be bankrupt, and you're going to bury everybody in debt. That's my point. Thank you.
I'll ask it a third time if there's any other comments about revenue neutral. We will close the revenue neutral hearing.
Got to adopt the resolution before we close the hearing.
Okay. So we have a resolution 1320 to vote on exceeding revenue neutral rate for 2026. Madam Clerk, will you do a roll call?
Do we have a motion?
We need a motion on that.
Just for the roll call vote, is that what we're needing?
This is just to exceed the revenue neutral rate.
Mayor, I move we approve resolution 1320 to exceed the R&R rate for 2026.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Chastain and second by Councilman Basic to approve resolution 1320, vote to exceed revenue neutral rate for 2026. Are there any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Chastain?
Aye.
Councilmember Basic?
Aye.
Councilmember Dean?
Aye.
Councilmember Hennis?
Aye.
Councilmember Bratton?
Nay.
Councilmember Philippin?
Nay.
Councilmember Caldwell?
Aye.
5. Motion carries. We will move on to the budget hearing to adopt the 2025 budget for the city of Osawatomie. So we'll open this hearing at 6:45 for public comment on the actual budget of the 2025 budget for Osawatomie. Anybody that would like to talk about the actual budget of 2025? I'll ask a second time. If there's any public comments in the hearing for the budget?
Can I go up?
I'll ask it, okay.
My name is Polly Inscore. Again, I'm Dean Inscore's wife. So as far as the budget goes, I think that having the numbers out there was good in the agenda for anybody who was able to see it. But the money that we are spending on consultants and consulting firms and all of that needs to go. It just needs to go. If the city manager is incapable of doing the job of the city manager without having so many consultants, then he needs to go. And the city council is the one that put him there. And the city council answers to the people. And the people have clearly spoken today, and it is just falling on deaf ears, except for Tammy and Dale, which I commend you guys for saying nay. The rest of you that voted to increase the hardship on your town, shame on every one of you. Shame on every one of you that you cannot even look them in the eyes, and I don't even know how you guys still have your positions. I don't know how people have not gotten angry before now. I'd be pissed if this was the town that I lived in. I went yesterday to the Miami County budget hearing, and it was all televised, and you can watch it. I got up and got in their face too. You guys are not special. They shaved off $750,000 off their budget after they listened to the people. They went and they said, okay, we can take $250,000 away from the health department. We can take $250,000 away from the roads. We can take $250,000 away from this. They listened to the people and they shaved off what they could. For the last 2 years, they have not raised. They have actually had a surplus. You guys could learn a lot from that. So I challenge you guys to take a good look at this budget and start shaving stuff off. Because you have heard from the people that you represent that this is not okay. And if you cannot represent them properly, then every single one of you need to step down. Because the moment we do the recall, a recall election or a write-in, whichever one we have to go to, I can tell you that these two are going to be gone. And along with these two being gone are all the consultants that are sitting there sucking money, leeching money like parasites from the people that you are supposed to represent. It is shameful that you guys have the purse strings of the taxpayers. You guys have been entrusted with the taxpayers' money. Elderly people, disabled people, widows, a widow that you attack, okay? You guys have their purse strings. You have been entrusted. And if I was entrusted with somebody else's money, I would use extreme caution with it. There would always be a surplus. There would always be money going back to the people. You know what? We didn't need as much of your money this year, so we're going to give it back to you. Your taxes are going down. That's what would be if I was in charge of this place. There would not be Mike Scanlon. There would not be all of these grants. Do you know grant money comes out of our federal? That's still the taxpayers. That's still our wallet. We are not a gigantic piggy bank for every idea that comes out of Mike Scanlon's head. We are not a piggy bank for him to sit and scheme and dream all day about, oh, which codes. You know, you guys act like you're at the mercy of the codes. He sat on the phone and told me, Dean is not getting his meter back. Want to know why? Because during those years that he was helping you, who had been a widow for so long, helping you put your house back together, he should have had his property occupied. So he doesn't get to keep his property. We're going to go through legal proceedings and we're going to tear it down. Okay? So that's why I'm in this fight, is because of that. Pretty costly meter, wasn't it? That being said, it is not right what you guys are doing to your town. It is not right that you guys are ignoring the people. It is not right the sweetheart deals that go on. It is not right all the backdoor deals that go on. It is not right. It's not okay. You guys have been entrusted by the people to represent them, and you're not. How close am I to 5 minutes? Because I'll just keep going.
10 seconds.
Okay. If you cannot represent your people, step down. Because if you do not step down, we're just going to get you out anyways. Thank you.
I'm Jamie Wilson from 910 Brown. I want to tell you folks that you understand your job, and your jobs are to ensure that our streets are paved and that we get water to our houses, our sewer goes out to the plant, and then we have electricity, and that takes money. You all know the largest portion of where these budgets go, and if you start cutting, then we're going to lose those streets that you've spent so much money on to get to put in. We lose those sidewalks, and everything gets run down like it's been up until about, 5 years ago, when somebody got a plan to start to improving things. So, congratulations. It's hard, but you guys are here to make hard decisions.
So we're demonstrating.
So sorry you have to listen to me a third time. I don't even like listening to me 3 times. But there was some hesitation with anybody coming up here when you first asked for a comment. Everybody just kind of sat here. I think you had to ask a second time. And I sat in here when we were talking about building a 10-foot wide sidewalk for a hiking path to go through people's yards, and you all voted in the affirmative to pass that. And there were a lot of people who opposed it. There have been a lot of people who've come up here today, and I mean, you just barely took a vote, and there were 2 nays. That's notable. My impression as I talk to more and more people is I don't think anybody really wants to comment much. Here we have this time for comment on the budget, but what's the point? Because it doesn't really seem like the representation in this town is listening to the people. Every point that's brought up, there's a counterpoint that comes from the city council. Well, you don't know what you're talking about because this. Well, we can disregard what you have to say. We can disregard your complaint because this. There's always some kind of a counterpoint, some reason why you don't have to listen to the comments that come up here, and then the votes just come almost without even thinking, just yay. And if the people here don't feel like you care or are listening, then they're not going to comment. And this is part of the problem here, is I don't think that anybody here really feels like anyone here, we have 2 sides of a room. I don't feel like anybody on this side feels like anybody on this side is listening or cares.
Speak for yourself.
And I may be wrong.
They don't give a fuck.
They're wise.
I'm not trying to stir up anything right now, but
You're wasting your breath, man. They don't give a fuck. They listen to that motherfucker.
I think it would help if maybe there were at least some discussion. We took that vote, there was no discussion among the city council about the things that were brought up. No discussion at all. Now that's cool, we had 2 people that apparently listened and thought about it, but I have no idea if any of you even listened to it, or if you just had your yay already written down, you just read it off a piece of paper, because there was 0 discussion. There's nothing that shows this town that you're actually listening. So if we want to have faith in our government, we need to know that our government's listening to us.
Amen.
Any other comments on the budget? I will ask a third and final time if there's comments about the budget. We'll close the budget hearing at 6:55. Move on to ordinance 3875, adoption 2026 budget and levy and tax purpose thereof.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder for everyone, the goals that this council's been working on for the last 5 years, they're not my goals, they're not my predecessor's goals, they're not the mayor's goals, they're not the council's goals, they're the community's goals. 5 years ago, my predecessor and the mayor at the time sat down and had a series of listening sessions with the community, and the goals that I'm going to walk through and the progress that we've made on those goals came out of those listening sessions. So I want to reiterate that these are not my goals, they're not any city manager's goals, they're not the governing body's goals, they're the community's goals. And the community cares about the stuff that we're trying to do. We can all disagree about how we get there, but these are the goals that the community asked for. First, they asked to clean the community up. The city continues to identify structures in need of repair, demolition, and we do maintain a structure list that is on our building inspector's board of buildings that we're keeping an eye on. We send out nuisance letters. We hang door hangers on doors. We make phone calls. We send emails. And as a last resort, we issue citations. The Swenson building, which has been a thorn in this community's side for the better part of a decade, was bought by an individual from Colorado who had every intention to turn it into public housing for low income and elderly citizens. He made zero progress on that, but we went out, the city went out collectively as an organization and found a developer that was willing to spend a ton of money already on that building, hoping that they could get the housing tax credits that they need and the historic tax credits that they need. Last year they were successful in receiving the historic tax credits, and this year they're hoping that they will be successful on the low-income tax credits. Those are the things that we're working on. We talk about the tax levy going up, or the taxes going up, but what people aren't distinguishing is that there's two parts of that equation. There's the rate at which the property is taxed, and then there's the valuation, which is assigned by the Miami County appraiser. The appraiser follows a couple of different formulas, but one of them is a function of the real estate market. We have known for years that the city, Johnson County, Kansas City, Wyandotte County, those communities are moving south. And we are experiencing that. We saw that in 2021, 2022, 2023, housing prices going through the roof. Houses were on the market for less than 48 hours, and they were sold. That's a function of the market. That's not a function of anything that this municipality is doing other than cleaning the community up. When you drive down 6th Street, look at the Equipbid building. The old E.K. Campbell building used to be Thomas and Betts way back in the day. Overgrown with brush, a rusted chain link fence, the building falling apart, windows busted out. The individual who owns Equipbid bought that building and has spent a ton of money fixing it up to make it presentable. That building in and of itself, you want to know what it went up in valuation from the year before he started to the year it is now? That commercial property went up almost $300,000 in 1 year because of some paint and cleaning up the property. On infrastructure, repairing and replacing streets. 4 years ago, the council at the time voted to increase property taxes by 14 mills, and every one of those mills was dedicated to repairing and replacing streets. The public also voted on a half-cent sales tax to help pay for cities and streets. We have issued and we have built $10 million worth of brand new streets from the base up. I don't even have the number in the milling and overlaying projects that we've done, but I've got the list. We've done 18th Street, Main Street Terrace, Walnut, Brown Avenue, 2 different sections of Brown Avenue, and 6th Street was the most recent full-depth construction street that we replaced. Those cost $10 million. We received one $1.5 million grant from the state of Kansas to help do 6th Street. Had we not received that grant, 6th Street would still be 6th Street as we used to know it. It wouldn't be the nice piece of infrastructure that we now have. The mill and overlays, Parker Avenue from 12th Street all the way out to city limits, Chestnut from 7th to 12th, East Main, 1st Street all the way to 169, Slayman Heights, and 7th Street all the way from Walnut to from Pacific all the way to the overpass. Every one of those full-depth streets came in at or under budget. Not millions of dollars over budget, at or under budget, because we manage our projects. We care about the tax dollars just as much as everybody that's gotten up here to speak. We all pay the same tax dollars, most of us. On the hard infrastructure part, the water treatment plant, we've selected our CMAR, and we can talk about what's cheaper, whether it's buying water and getting out and giving up on producing water, and we can throw our future away, or we can continue down the path we've been down and continue to fight for the future of this community, whether we're here or we're not. In the next 2 weeks, we'll be meeting with the selected contractor, Bowen Engineering. We will do a kickoff for that project in the next 2 weeks. The electric conversion continues, taking our voltage from 4160, 2400 to 12470, 7200. The 2026 budget keeps operating transfers from utilities, electric and sewer only, at 5%. The reason the budget has gone from $17,415,000, which was 2025's published budget, to $18,300,000 and some $1,000, which is next year's published budget, that's a $900,000 and some $1,000 difference. The biggest reason for that increase is a $680,000 transfer from the water fund to the CIP water fund to retire a $2.5 million temporary note that we took out to pay for water mains on 6th Street and Brown. The option is to roll that into a general obligation bond and pay for that over the course of 10 or 20 years and pay all that interest. Nobody likes paying interest, but sometimes it's a necessary evil. You're investing in the community's future, and we have an opportunity to retire that bond before it goes into long-term financing, and that's what my recommendation, and that's what this budget helps to do. On the economic development front, in 2024, we issued 16 new home permits. In 2025 so far, we've issued 5. We've got 4 more new home permits pending for the 5th Street Terrace addition. The 5th Street Terrace construction of the public infrastructure is underway. The loft and 525 Main Street are in various stages of restoration and renovation. There are people coming to this community, and they are investing in this community because they see the potential. 544 Main has been completed, Daylight Donuts, and there's a chiropractic office occupying the commercial spaces on the lower level, and there's residential apartments on the upstairs level. 6th Street's complete. The budget contains a program to help businesses along 6th Street dress up their facades. One business is looking to expand, an existing business on 6th Street is looking to expand, and another business is looking at locating 2 Osawatomie on 6th Street. On the soft infrastructure side, we've got the Transportation Alternatives Grant, which is tying in shared use paths to our trails, bringing people to the downtown business district and to the park. Our reconnaissance survey is underway with the National Park Service to establish whether or not there's a sufficient historic value to the park to bring it into the National Park Service, thus taking it off of the local taxpayers' burden and placing it on the greater ability of the federal government to pay. We are in a design stage for a new clubhouse at the golf course. A new clubhouse that will be paid for 100% by the users of the facility, not the residents of Osawatomie, most of whom do not use the golf course. I'm not blind to that fact. Most of the golf course users are from out of town, and they will be the ones that retire this debt, not the taxpayer. We're in early stages to revisit a phase 2 of the Osawatomie Public Library expansion. Just this week, we talked about a $1.5 million interceptor sewer to nowhere. That interceptor sewer has to be there, because without the interceptor sewer, we can't develop the Northland sufficiently. This interceptor sewer was paid for with $1.5 million from the state, $250,000 from the county, and $250,000 from the city. That temporary note will be paid off when it matures in 2028. And I've got to say, I've submitted applications to the Department of Commerce to develop the Northland back in 2006 all the way through 2011, and we've done it since I returned in 2021. to when I assumed the city manager role in 2023. We continue to apply for development prospects in that area. But with that interceptor sewer, I believe that this is our best chance we've ever had in the 20 years that the city's had its name on that 327 acres, the best chance we have of landing a prospect in the Northland. Some of my concerns and goals: retention of existing employees. The political climate, when you have people complaining on Facebook about the police department, how many officers we have, we don't pay our officers adequately to compete with the surrounding jurisdictions. We don't. We can't afford to, because we are constantly fighting. We're fighting the push on the property tax. I'm thankful for the officers that we do have, because I have a great group of officers. They care about this community. Some of them live here, some of them don't. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that they care about Osawatomie. Other concerns: keeping our utility rates whole to ensure utility rates keep pace with inflation. We have not transferred for operating purposes any transfers out of utilities in excess of 5%. We treat our utilities like we do any other utility, whether it's phone, cable, or internet. We treat them the same way. 5% is the cap on transfers for operations, general city operations. We continue to encourage construction on infill lots, because growth in new construction has to increase at a rate equal to or greater than inflation. And the more houses we build, the more opportunities we have to lower the property tax rate, which is what this budget does. We've got redevelopment of our business quarters, as I mentioned before, the loft on 6th, 544 Main, 525 Main, 519 Main, the equip bid building, the old grocery store building, 500 and 510 Main. We've got development agreement in negotiation for those two buildings, and by this time next year, those buildings will be owned by the developer, and they will be fixing those buildings up for retail and commercial on the lower level and apartments on the upstairs. There's been a lot of talk about the sources of revenues, particularly on the property tax side of things. Of the $18 million budget, only 17% of that $18 million comes from property taxes, just over $3 million. Utility charges amount to 50%, sales taxes amount to 11%, and everything else is miscellaneous fees, charges, and transfers. On the use of funds, personnel expenses, it amounts to 26% of the total budget. Contractual services, 28%. A big one is all of our electric purchase agreements. Debt service is 14%. That's all the bonds that we had to issue to repair the streets at the community's request. It's not that we were looking to just go spend money and fix streets. That's what the community wanted. Interfund transfers is only 11%, and everything else is 21%. You'll see in the packet, and this packet will be made available at City Hall tomorrow. If anybody in the audience would like to have a copy of it, we will have those available for pickup and photocopy if you wish. But we've got the general fund, shows you the progress of the general fund departments, actuals for 2024, budget for 2024, budget for 2025, budget for 2026. On the employee benefits side, it's the same thing, and on the next page is the bond and interest side, which is also the same thing. All of these are snippets from the line item budget that will be published by January 31st, 2026, all in accordance with the ordinance that's before you tonight for consideration. What I want to point out is there's been a lot of talk about how the city, primarily myself, doesn't care about the tax dollars and just happy to spend it wherever I want. Since 2023, we have eliminated by attrition or reorganization the following positions: the business liaison, a mechanic, 2 positions in the police department, 1 water plant operator. The meter reader responsibilities were absorbed by the utilities crews because we implemented the automated metering system, and that system is nearly fully operational. Electric meters are all in, and we're halfway through our water meters. The assistant to the city manager was eliminated, and last but not least, our deputy city manager is serving 2 roles. 1 is deputy city manager, and 1 is the public works director. She assumed that role in 2023 when I moved back into the city manager role. The balance of this presentation, the bond and interest fund payments, shows you what bonds come off next. The 2027 is the first bond that will retire, and then we have a series of them that retire in the 2030s. There's a line chart. There's a chart for the transfers out of the utilities. And again, I would reiterate that the spike in the transfers in that graph is 100% related to the $680,000 transferring out of the water fund to CIP water for debt retirement. The rest of those transfers are all in line with what was approved and transferred for 2025. There's also a chart that shows the historic mill levy and the assessed valuation. And then last but not least, I want to point out a couple of things in the budget, some takeaways for the 2026 budget. This budget reflects a reduction of 2 mills in the budget. If we could have reduced it more, we would have reduced it more, because that's my charge to department heads every year when we start the budget process. Budget what you need, not what you want, and then when we put the budget together, we'll see what's available, and if there's some things that we could replace, then we'll replace them, but we always are cognizant of that tax bill. We know taxes are high, we know appraisals are high, but again, that's a function of the market. It's not a function of this city government spending more money than you think we should. We're going to continue to focus on rebuilding fund balances. The 2026 budget has a planned 2% cost of living with up to a 3% merit increase. We're planning to pay off a portion of the temporary notes that are due in 2027, most of the trails note and all of the water main note. The value of a mill, if anybody's interested, this is an indication of the growth in valuation. When I started here in, was it 2021? I believe when I came back, our assessed valuation was almost half of what it is now. That's hard to believe, but that's a function of the market. But in 2024, assessed valuation was $36,300,000. In 2025, it was $38,900,000. In 2026, it's $42,026,000. $42,026,000. The 2026 number is probably going to adjust downward. I'll just caution you. There is a solar array that is still fully taxed, and it is eligible for a tax exemption through the federal and state government. It's not a tax exemption that the city issued. It's a tax exemption that's available to the utility by right. And they have applied for that, and my understanding is that it will be coming off the tax rolls. So I would caution the council on doing anything drastic if there is anyway, that's a cautionary note. The proposed budget for 2025, as I mentioned, was $17,400,000. This budget is $18,350,000. Removing that $679,000 transfer out of the water, which was not present last year, but is present for 2020, or this year, but is present for 2026, takes the actual budget to equalize everything out to the 2025 budget to $17,669,000. That's a 1.5% increase from what was published and approved last year. The latest CPI, if anybody paid any attention today, came out. CPI for year over year, July to July, was 2%. The producer price index was 2.5%. And with that, I would stand for any questions.
When we had the issue with the electric and we had no power for about a quarter of the town, can you tell them about how bad a shape we were in financially? We didn't have hardly anything left over at that.
There was almost a 25% fund balance. Our policy, adopted by the council, is a 25% of expenditures is what we would like to see on hand. That's no different than anyone's savings accounts. Are we there? No, we're not even close. Not even close. But the electric fund had $700,000 or $800,000. It's almost a $5 million fund. We were able to pay the cost of that out of funds on hand. We paid for the automated metering system. We paid for those with funds on hand, and we utilized those funds. We didn't go and get a lease purchase agreement with First Option to pay for those over the course of 10 years. We had the funds on hand. We did that because we could afford to, and we didn't want to pay the interest. Now we're building those fund balances back up. But that was the decision that was made. That was what was presented to the council. The electric, the transformer outage, that cost the city almost $400,000 when it was all said and done, $350,000. But we paid for that with cash on hand.
I think the only thing you missed is consulting fees. Can you go over that a little bit?
The contract's up in December, and it's not getting renewed. That's always been that's always been the plan.
I just wanted, I knew that, I wanted to
Yeah.
stay with you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I didn't include that in my presentation.
And one of the other reiterations I would like to make is that for Michelle, she wears 2 hats for 1 salary.
Yep,
So just to make sure that that is understood.
correct.
And when we design our roads,
Say that again.
when we design our roads that had to be replaced.
Yep.
Because if we had just overlaid them, we'd still be in the same issue that we are now. When we design roads, we have to, when we replace roads, we have to design them according to what?
The current industry standards.
Current industry standards.
Yep.
Which requires what?
We engage an engineer. I'm not a licensed engineer. I don't have a professional engineering stamp.
I think what you're getting at is a lot of the roads have to be fully rebuilt. They can't just be made.
Many of them.
We have to hire specialists to do those jobs. Of course, tell us what we have to have.
Exactly. We don't
Which
have
is
to-
a lot more expensive than.
Any other questions, council?
How long do you work with the council when you put one of these together?
We start on the budget process in March, and then we work through it all the way up until the end of August. It consumes the better part of a year.
Nobody wants taxes to go up, but I mean, we all too, unfortunately.
I mean, that's the distinction I was making, was that, you know, our rate is going down. We might, as Brad's correct, we do have the highest mill rate, but we also have some of the lowest valuations. And our streets cost the same here to rebuild as they do in Paola, as they do in Spring Hill, as they do in Olathe. They all cost the same. In fact, I would argue they're probably cheaper in Paola or Olathe because their asphalt plants are closer, their concrete plants are closer, their contractors are closer.
So on the solar array, we really don't know the numbers on that, how that's going to pan out with the city. Don't have a good guess.
I don't know what the final numbers are, but I mean, from
And if it pans out the way we think it might,
from a,
we lose some of that.
we will from a commercial, but we will have to, we will just have to absorb that.
Well, I mean, we'll lose the expense of buying electricity on the market.
Oh, no, yes, I mean,
See what I'm saying?
the solar array, yeah, we've got a predefined,
That's gonna treat
that power purchase agreement, we're buying all the electricity off of that facility, and the price of that electricity is guaranteed for 30 years. That is not the case if you're out buying electricity on the SPP integrated marketplace.
What he was talking about is the property tax that we receive, or it shows that we're receiving from that solar array. Evergy can get a tax exemption because the feds and the state give tax exemption.
No, we buy electricity from Tennessee Valley, something.
GRDA.
Yeah, the Grand River Dam.
And some of that might go down if we figure out how that's going to treat us.
That contract expires in 2026, and we just renewed it for a little bit less megawatts, excuse me, because we're trying to diversify our portfolio. But the evaluation for property tax purposes on that solar array, our total valuation is a little over $42,000 per mil. It's probably going to come down closer to like 38 or 40. But I don't have a good feel for where that's at because the valuation they gave me in June was an estimate. We'll know that come November 10th, November 1st, I think, is when they close their abstract.
Any other questions for Brett?
How much is this year's budget going to come under?
I'm sorry.
This year, 2025's budget, is it going to come under what you estimated?
Well, I've stated previously that we will need to make, we always have to amend some budgets, but I'm hopeful that the number of funds we have to amend are minimal. The general fund is in great shape, the electric fund's in good shape, sewer fund's in good shape, the water fund will probably need to be amended, but it's getting there, it's improving, so.
Any more questions, council?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 3875, adoption of the 2026 budget and levying a tax for the purpose thereof.
A second that.
Got a motion by Councilman Hennis and a second by Council Lady Caldwell to approve ordinance 3875, the adoption of the 2026 budget and levying a tax for the purpose thereof. There are no other questions or comments from council. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Shasteen?
Aye.
Councilmember Masick?
Aye.
Councilmember Dean?
Aye.
Councilmember Hennis?
Aye.
Councilmember Braden?
Aye.
Councilmember Philippin? Aye. Councilmember Caldwell?
Aye.
Motion carries.